outages, which is a very real case for us to be concerned about, and some of the ways to prepare for a power outage, cyber attack versus an EMP, and just certain levels of preparation. We then focused on food storage and food preparation for long-term food storage, while having faith that the Most High is going to provide for us. With all these lessons, we definitely emphasize the spiritual preparation over the natural. We went into skills, discussed personal protection, things that we could learn that will be beneficial concerning these last days, which will be fire making, personal protection, self-defense, bushcraft, water purification, plant identification, things like that. Um, we then went to how to build a bug out bag, some of the things you might need, the different types of bug out bags. We covered a simple everyday case, call those EDCs or everyday carry. Then we went to the 72-hour bug out bags. Then more so to your long-term storage bags, which have more like your tents and your tarps and things like that. Um, so and then, the last couple of lessons we went over the wrong mindset to have during the apocalypse, more so focusing on the children of Israel in their time in Egypt, the murmuring, complaining, the lack of faith, the frustrating of Moses and the Most High. And we contrast that with the following lesson of the right mindset to have, gratefulness, faith, belief, contentment, knowing that this is part of the refinement phase that we will have to go through in these last days. So with that, we the past couple of weeks after that series, we switched gears to analyzing Jacob's Trouble. It was the new series where we covered short films and movies that was relevant to Jacob's Trouble, to where we could extrapolate relevant lessons and relevant scriptures that we could use. So for this lesson and for the next one, we're going to focus these on Jacob's Trouble, not the other series analyzing Jacob's Trouble. So for this one, there's no video or movie to review. We're just going to go ahead and get started. So I wanted to start this with, for this for this lesson, we're going to circle back and do food storage with the addition of food rotation. So I think this is a good idea considering the last time we covered this lesson, which is episode 3 on the Jacob's Trouble series. You can find that in the website that we have set up, and also on King Ben's YouTube playlist. So if you go to his YouTube channel, you will see a playlist there. Just click on the playlist and you'll see Jacob's Trouble, and then the Jacob's Trouble movie reviews, which is the analyzing Jacob's Trouble. So for this lesson, we're going to circle back to food storage with the addition of food rotation. I think it's a good idea considering since the last time we covered this lesson, which was around March, I believe, times have not gotten better, and the Lord has added new members to our club and to our sister club. All praises to the Father for that. So for starting out, I just want to go over, this classic precept. And Ben, if you have one or two you want to bring out before I start getting into the meat of the lesson, that'll be great as well. This is Proverbs chapter 6, starting at verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long will thy sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, and a little slumber, a little of the folding of hands to sleep. So shall poverty come out as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. So, a few things to notice here is that we see the ant being considered wise, because no one's telling the ant to go to work, to store for the winter. No one's telling her to gather her food in the harvest. So this is more talking about using the ant as an example. So contrasting that with the sluggard who was asleep and spiritually, we know, spiritually sleep or not paying attention or in la la land as in the days of Noah. So the person who is asleep is folding their hands and saying, yeah, I'll get to it later, or yeah, it's been a while. And then poverty shall come as one that travaileth in want. Another word for want is lack, as an armed man. So, for those who are not taking this moment seriously, it's going to come up for them. It's going to come as a surprise. It's going to come as a complete shock. For us, we've been, for those who have been in the Bible, we've see the signs. We've been told a Bible prophecy. We know that Jacob's trouble. Um, Even the Christian church calls it the Great Tribulation. Um, we see that the times are approaching, but the problem with the Christian church is they view that through the lens of the rapture. So they believe that um, they will be raptured up, snatched into heaven before the famine takes place. So at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of them were panicking because they thought, this was the end and they should have been raptured. But then as things kind of, I won't say chilled out, but as businesses started to open back up and they got the vaccine and the deaths aren't really that bad. I know someone that had COVID, but they lived, and yeah, this ain't this is not the end time. They have gotten laxed, and they still believe that a rapture is coming before the big hammer falls on the world. So looking at it through that lens would place them in the hands of the sluggard. I'm sure we all had friends or family who still believe in the rapture doctrine, and we try to tell them, no, it's false. That's not true, or that's a misinterpretation, and they just didn't want to hear it. So, as in the days of Noah, they're going about their lives, they're marrying and giving into marriage, and it's not saying that we shouldn't do those things, but we should be like the ant. So the ant knows winter is coming. It's not new. It comes every year. But for us, we know that this winter is going to be a very difficult one. Not physically, it may. I mean, Lord knows, last winter was pretty tough. But this is talking about being wise and storing. The ant is not panicking. The ant is not anxious. The ant is not in fear. The ant is, as the ant, she sees some food, she grabs it, and she takes it back to the ant farm, or their den. So that's it. And that's what we're been saying, and we're going to continue to say, is for the love of everything that lives, do not panic as you're starting your food storage or your preps, or if you're new to this and you start looking at people who've been storing for years or whatever, and people with the big bunkers. That doesn't mean anything if they're not in the truth, if they're not part of the hopeful elect. If they're not part of that remnant that the Bible speaks of, that will be saved out of Jacob's trouble. So there's a lot of scriptures, or there's a lot of wisdom to pull just from those 5 verses. So, Brother Ben, is there something you want to pull out before I go on?
Yeah, I just got two. Just one
Sure.
similar to yours, of course. And considering the ant, because the Most High always liken, our people to, related to different animals, wise animals, and this, just one similar to the one that you brought out, also in Proverbs 30, and it says, of course, the Most High is talking about. It says there be Salakia. It says there'll be four things which are little upon the earth, but these are exceedingly wise. I'm just going to give one. It says the ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. So, so like it says also, verse 26, it says the colonies are but a feeble folk, yet make their houses in rocks. So he just likening, let me backing off of what Leo said, we look to these things as we having dominion over the whole earth. The Most High is likening us to these animals, which are wise. They don't have uh the foreknowledge that we have, what I'm saying, but they make use of their time, what I'm saying. So they go to prepare they don't prepare their meat in the winter because they know that it will be hard to harvest. It wouldn't be no meat for them, so they prepare it in the summer, while other animals, if you see an ants like an ant hill, they're constantly at work. And a lot of time our people, they take time off, as feeling that they feel that they got enough, and not preparing for the storm. And as we see right now, our people think it's chill time as summer is coming in, not knowing that with this summer also famine is upon us. So this is the time that we should be preparing for. We should be gathering all of our our items together and storing them, making use of it, not being gluttonous, working out, doing these things in preparation for those hard winter months that's coming. And the winter months is, is likened to like just tribulation, right? It's not just we talking about snowstorms or cold weather. We're talking about that tribulation, that storm that's going to be coming over us, right? I want to go to one more precept because, we will be concentrate. We will be, we have faith that the Lord will protect us, right? But you know, and we are not to worry. Um, I want to go to in the same chapter, Salakia, because we don't just think that it's just going to be, you know, we us as Israelites, we do have that faith, so we want to keep that faith in the Most High. I wanted Salakia, the Book of Proverbs, um, um, right. I wanted to because in this planning of the um Salakia, in this planning that we are set to do with like the ant, in those times where everyone else is doing, is hasn't been prepared, right? As like into the 10 virgins that five had their oil and five didn't, right? um we will be satisfied in those days. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at 9. It says, honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thy increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Right. So we in this time as in preparation, and the main thing that we always say is that in these times we got to be spiritual. We got to take spiritual stock. We always remind our people that it's not almost, as much as we implore people to get items and stack them up, you're stacking up now spiritual faith, that in those times, that when it is you are lacking substance, you will have an increase in faith, and your barns will be filled with faith in those times. That, but we're not saying that you're not going to have the abundance of things or food to eat, because the Most High will provide. But it's just your faith that you're stacking up right now, your spiritual understanding, those things, and those things will propel you to get prepared for the oncoming storm, where the faithless will be, they will be lacking in substance. So I just wanted to bring out those two quick precepts just to land me back on what Brother Leo was talking about. And I yield.
Con, and with this preparation, this also plays into people who um, we talk about hyperinflation, and part of food storage is staying ahead of hyperinflation. Because food prices are going up and there's shortages. So it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much Bitcoin you have, it doesn't matter what your investments look like. When the dollar collapses, and or there's a famine, and or there's a war going on American soil, none of that's going to mean anything. It's all going to go back to its value, its intrinsic value, which is zero. So, what you have, I'm just talking about in the natural, what you have on you is what you have. So it's not like, oh, let me go run to the bank. Oh, the economy is collapsing. That's the thing. When the stock market and the economy are two different things. The stock market, when you see the numbers in the green, does not reflect the actual economy. So someone asked, could I, I guess, do a lesson on what, what should we do if the market crashes? Um, I mean, if you're invested in the stock market, you probably should have an exit strategy. That's what, whether the market's doing good or bad, you should have an exit strategy as to, when I'm getting out. I don't know when you should get out or when you should get in. That's not the purpose of this lesson. But um, the question you have to ask yourself, and we're going to get into food storage. This will cover also the question about, you know, the market crashing and the dollar crashes. Is if the banks, the stock market, the internet, the power, the stores, everything just shut down tomorrow. As we're talking right now, we wake up into tomorrow, and everything is closed, done forever. How much food and water and supplies do you have in your house right now? As we're talking right now, how long could you live comfortably? Now, I'm gonna use the word comfortably. How long could you live comfortably just with the things you have in your house? Um, so that right there, that question, depending on, if it's 2 weeks, you could say yes. All the food in my house, I could eat comfortably for 2 weeks. That's a start. If you say a couple of days, then you might want to need to refocus your finances if possible. With relation to this lesson of food storage, if you say a few months, if you say I can last for a few years, then that tells you on the scale of investment, I guess where you should put your dollar, because it's the same question I could ask if you if you could not work, um, you were could not work, you could not go back to work. How much money do you have saved up to last your expenses? And most of us do not even have, um, talking about the average American, do not does not have $500 on cash for emergencies. So tire blows out, something happens, car goes down, um, you know, you slip and fall, and you got to be out of work for a couple of weeks. Most of us do not have that money um, in cash in our savings account or under our bed, wherever, to cover that expense. So, of course, a billionaire could say, "Oh, if I couldn't work, I'll be fine for years." Okay, just take that same analogy and put it with food storage. Okay, so again, use that analogy that I just gave out. You couldn't go back to work. Now use that analogy for if everything was shut down, no one could work, no one could use their dollar. The dollar was, you know, dead. It was in. We are in hyperinflation. How much food could you survive on comfortably? And what you normally eat. Of course, in a famine, everyone would have to reduce their calorie intake. But how much food would you normally be able to eat is the question of how much food you should need. And now, when I say you, I'm talking about those in your household, not you only. So if you have children, you with a kid. How long could you and your household, you and your son or daughter or child, excuse me, could survive comfortably? So that should let you know what you should be focusing in on in terms of investments. Not nothing wrong with investments. I have some. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I don't. However, I do not. If the dollar dies tomorrow, it's okay. Like, for the love of God, I pray the dollar dies every day. Um, so I'm not putting my treasures here. It's just in case of an emergency, this is what we have. So with the food storage, okay. So now I've kind of give you that you take that mental checklist in your head. How long could you survive if everything was shut down? Um, and I guess take it a step further. There was no more food. Like, that was it. Like, you couldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to go rob, the store. I'm gonna go loot." No, 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 no. You can't do that. Everything is done. Like, everyone is locked in their house forever. Let me use that and be that extreme. How long could you survive in your house with the food that you have right now? whether you're going to add your garden already that's growing food, if it's not, or the food that you've accumulated and stored. Okay. So now, when getting into prepping, building a long-term food storage, a long-term food storage setup can be intimidating. So we're just going to start with just 2 weeks food as a backup, so you can start, ensuring the path that your family has what they need. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a kind of a broad list of important points, and we're going to kind of break this down. I'm kind of go over it in a little bit more detail. Okay. Um, some things to consider as you're building this. Simple items you use every day. Now with this, I've made some mistakes with my food storage and restocking, and the Lord has been faithful to show me my errors. So we're going to go over those errors too. So simple items you use every day, foods that you like to eat, or foods that you like and you eat. Okay, it's two different things. For me at the beginning of the pandemic, one thing that I guess a few mistakes I made in my food storage was before the pandemic, I was storing and, doing a decent job of food rotation. But when the pandemic, I thought that this was, the end all be all, like this was the end. So I made some mistakes in the past, and more recently, I made fewer mistakes. So more specifically with food rotation. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a decent food storage, and at the beginning of it, I was just topping off on the items that I was already using. While, and this is the dangerous part, while branching off to new food items that I've never eaten. Okay. I didn't normally eat because I thought the famine and the war was going to be very imminent. It was going to come in hard and fast. But as time marched on throughout the year, it became apparent that this was going to be a longer degradation. So some of those items, I am ashamed to say, spoiled way beyond their expiration date. Now, we're going to touch on expiration and part of that. So, that's why, if I've been eating this food and I've been eating it for years, there's no reason to start, oh, yeah, that looks good, or it looks like I can use that, or, no, just stick to what you eat and what you like. Okay. So, foods that are easy to cook, okay, easy to store long term without refrigeration. So remember, we may experience some power outages and rolling blackouts. And in Texas, we did during the winter storm. So, whatever foods that I had that I could cook without refrigeration. Easy foods that are easy to cook and, low in sodium. Now, when I say low in sodium, salt/sodium is important. We covered this in the analyzing Jacob's trouble when we covered the short film Survive with the guy in the desert. Um, our bodies need sodium, but just like that, much like with anything, too much of it is not good for us. So if you're on long hikes and sweating a lot, then the sodium is needed. It provides the electrolytes that the body needs to be functioning. Again, just think of it as water is the gas and sodium is the oil. Okay, just like you're talking about a car. So you need both. You need water. You need gas and oil. Just same thing with our bodies. We need water and sodium. So staple foods are the best foods. Now, when I say staple, these are the ones that are high in nutrients and they have a good balance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So this would be your rice and beans, which is the staple food for most countries outside the U.S. Also, your nuts, cashews, mixed nuts, etc. Okay, so let me just pause for a moment. Now, with this, there's some things that I want to cover when I talked about earlier about expiration. So there are some foods that the Lord has created. Some are processed, but some are natural that the Lord has created that do not expire ever, and we can all thank Him for that. So we're going to go over the list of foods that do not expire. So feel free to stock up on these as much as you want. and just throw them in the back, and you can forget about them until, all hell breaks loose. The number one is honey. Okay. Now, honey may crystallize over time, but it won't actually spoil or become unusable. The reason it is resistant to spoilage is because it's only made up of about 17% of water, which is too low to accommodate bacteria and fungi. The honey actually dehydrates bacteria, so it is essentially its own preservative. Okay. Now, if your honey does crystallize, which mine has, I just had it so long, the one I used when I was going through rotation started to crystallize. So what you do is just run your sealed container under hot water for a few minutes, and the honey will soften up while maintaining its flavor. Okay. So now the thing about expiration, about other foods that the canned foods typically have a longer expiration. Um, as the expiration gets closer or it goes beyond, after the expiration, it's the flavor and the nutrients will start to degrade. So when I was going to the expired food, my food storage, when I was eating the expired foods, you could definitely taste the difference. It's not 100%. And again, some of those foods were not made to be long term storage. So but with that, I could tell, like, okay, yeah, I've had this item before. It's fresher when it was fresher. Now it's about what 3 months past its expiration, and it's still edible. I didn't get sick. I cooked it thoroughly or whatever, but I could tell the difference. And so that is one thing that you do not want to do. I'll cover into that about food rotation, but honey, it keeps its flavor. You just gotta melt or just run some hot water over the crystallization. I mean, to soften the crystallization. Okay. Number two is sugar. Now, both white and brown sugar can be used indefinitely. If now here's the thing with sugar, if they are stored in an airtight container and away from light and heat. So you could look up Mylar bags, Mylar, MYLAR, Mylar bags. They're just airtight. You just seal them with an iron or something like that, and it will you could put in the oxygen absorbers, and it will stay airtight, or the vacuum seals. So when sugar is stored properly, it is extremely inhospitable to bacteria and other things you do not want to eat. However, if moisture is allowed to mix with the sugar, it can be hard and clumpy and even become a food source for bacteria. For long-term storage, try storing your sugar in a vacuum-sealed container. All right, next is white rice. Okay, now rice specifically. Now, because brown rice will eventually go bad to its high oil content, but white rice, if stored properly in an airtight container, will stay good forever. Now, when you're talking about these bags of white rice, the jasmine rice, you can get those on Amazon for, it's like a 20-pound bag or something like that. I mean, those are in pretty good containers. So, and we're talking about forever. I mean, no one's lived forever to test out this theory. So, we're talking, next couple years or something like that, it'll still be good. So, next one is salt. Now, treating foods with salt is one of the oldest methods of food preservation. It is extremely effective at dehydrating things, including bacteria. So properly stored salt will remain usable for years. However, if the salt is fortified or has added ingredients like iodine, you can assume that the salt will have a shorter shelf life than regular old salt. It will still stay good for several years. Okay. Next, we have cornstarch, vinegar, apple cider vinegar. The shelf life for most vinegars is virtually indefinite. The acidic nature in vinegar makes it self-preserving and also makes it a great preservative for other foods. Properly stored vinegar will remain unchanged over time, but other types of vinegar, like wine vinegars or apple cider vinegars may change in color and appearance over time. Okay. Um, but that doesn't mean the vinegar is not, you can't use it. Okay. Next, vanilla extract. Okay. That lasts forever too. It is a very high alcohol content, around 40%. So if you're just curious on how to make vanilla extract, just get some vodka, get some vanilla beans. You probably want to cut a little slice in the vanilla beans to expose the seeds or the insides. Put it inside a tight container or a jar. Fill it up with vodka, shake it up, and then just put it in a dark place in your cabinet. And then I think 4 to 6 weeks you'll have vanilla extract. Okay, but it stays, but alcohol being a well-known preservative, a bottle of pure vanilla extract will stay good pretty much forever. Okay, in imitation vanilla also contains alcohol, but it also contains other ingredients which may shorten the shelf life. Okay, so it's almost better to get the pure or just make your own if you got vodka. Another one is maple syrup. Okay, you can't store you can store unopened maple syrup in your pantry indefinitely. But once it's been opened, it needs to be stored properly to stay usable. You can put your maple syrup in an airtight container or store it in the fridge after opening. Even stored away this way, pure maple syrup should stay good for years. Okay. So, yeah, I did buy that with honey. Um, but yeah, just put those in the back. You don't have to worry about those. Boolean cubes. So those are the ones that are another one that has a high shelf life because of its high salt content. These cubes will stay good forever, which is a great reason to keep a container of them in your cupboard. You always want to, you will always be ready to make some broth or add some extra flavor to your soups and sauces. Um, Dried beans. Okay. Dried beans are an excellent source of protein, fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. It's part of the staple foods that we covered, that I mentioned earlier. Beans are, a great thing to stock up for. Beans will last indefinitely if stored in a dry, cool place. Okay. Now, the claim of this was put to the test, which a Brigham Young University, which prepared and served pinto beans that were up to 32 years old to a group of 58 people. Among those taste testers, around 80% said they wouldn't even um, said they would eat even the oldest beans as part of their regular diet in an emergency situation. In an emergency situation. So again, you know, these things, all everything that I'm listing on these foods that will last forever or indefinitely, um, or indefinitely is forever, or have a very long shelf life. You can have one hell of a meal with the rice and the beans, and then next one is popcorn. Um, they will stay good for about 2 to 10 years after its best date, especially if stored in an airtight container. Now you want to make sure you store it in a cool place, the popcorn seeds, to extend the shelf life even further. Okay, now if you put it in your freezer, it will stay fresh for indefinitely. Now, um, no, I'm sorry, that was powdered milk. Excuse me. Powdered milk will stay good for about 2 to 10 years. So you have to make sure you put that in an airtight container and store it in a cool place. Okay. Um, so now with popcorn, bags of the microwave popcorn won't last forever, but the loose popcorn kernels can last virtually forever. Again, if you store them in an airtight container, cool, dry area, you can have popcorn anytime you want for quite some time. So one thing you should notice about everything I've mentioned here, just on this list, is that the storage of some of these foods or most of these foods is important. Now, airtight containers or airtight packaging is important because the bacteria does not get a opportunity to grow and fester. Okay, so even with the canned goods, I mean it's a sealed can. One way to tell if let's say we're out in Jacob's trouble, and you find some cans, and you look at it, and it's past expiration, but you're still cautious. One way to tell if bacteria has gotten inside is if you press on the top of the can. If you hear a clicking noise, like the can is sealed, nothing's spilling out. If you hear a clicking noise, that means air somehow has gotten in the can, and bacteria is more than likely growing within that food, so it's no good. So just now, if you go home or just go in your cabinet and you press the top of your can, nothing's going to happen. You can't get any movement because they're still relatively fresh, and no air has gotten in from when they first sealed it. So that's just a little tip to test cans. So even if you have some cans from 5, 6 years ago of green beans, and you still press the top of it, it'll still be fine. But even with the green beans or whatever you have, having the salt and these bouillon cubes will definitely add some flavor with your rice and beans and things like that. So this list, also cornstarch is another one that will stay good indefinitely. So I don't know if I brought that one out, but with that, those are some list of foods that you can add to your storage or your food storage and don't have to worry about. Okay, um, it's some of the other things that we got to go through. That's like okay, more so talking about food rotation. So just putting together that list of what I named or what I listed. I mean, again, you can have one hell of a meal for quite some time just with the honey and the rice. I don't know if y'all eat rice for breakfast. I know some people do. You got your vanilla extract, you got your maple syrup, you got your bouillon cubes, you got your beans, popcorn. So, you can get real creative and create different meals. So, um, you know, with that, let's I guess focus on the 2 weeks. Okay, just 2 weeks food source. So again, this is starting from the standpoint of I do not have anything, and then we're going to go to food rotation. Um, so with that, you want to have your rice. They have your starches and your um, energy. You have your beans for the protein. Your canned meats. You can have chicken, salmon. Your canned fruits, canned vegetables. Probably 20 cans will be good. For a 2 week starting. If you just starting out. Okay. You can have your canned soups, powdered milk, cereal. I really don't eat cereal. But again, if you're saying for 2 weeks and you eat cereal normally, it'll be good for rotation. I do more oatmeal, so it's a lot of things you can do with that. You can make it into a protein balls. You can have cookies, things like that. So peanut butter is a really good option for protein and calories. Pancake mix, preferably the ones that just add water. So again, you want to make sure things are simple for you to cook. Honey syrup, pasta sauce, which is your marinara, tomato basil, your salt for seasoning, oil. That's your cooking oil. Coffee or tea, whatever one you drink. If you drink neither, that's fine. Spices, that's your condiments, your bouillon cubes that add variety to your meals. Nuts. Now, nuts are easy comfort foods. They have the proteins and fats. You kind of got to be careful storing those long term because they do have the oils in them. So some may last longer than others, but just, be careful. Protein bars, crackers, same thing with that. I've had some that were past its expiration and I tried them and the flavor is definitely different. Now I didn't get sick or anything like that. So some people are paranoid, and if it's 1 day or 1 month past the expiration, and you take it, you're going to die. No, absolutely not. Just the quality, it starts to degrade. That's all. Now with that, I'm gonna put a caveat, asterisk with that. Um, I would use that strict. I would be strict with that when it comes to like dairy, with your more so with your milk and eggs, because you consume that and it's bad. For one, you're gonna know. I guess another thing to tell if a food has gone bad is the smell test. If it stinks, it's not good. Throw it away. So, you know, cheese, not so much. I mean, that's how we get blue cheese. I don't know if people know. I didn't know this, that the blue on blue cheese is really mold. So that's what you're consuming. When you eat blue cheese, part of that is mold. So, some cheeses, I mean, the mold grows. If you have that, if you have like a block of cheese or whatever, and mold is growing, just cut around the mold or cut off the mold. And the rest of the cheese is fine. The mold's not penetrating the whole block of cheese. Now, if it's shredded, maybe you probably want to get rid of it just for precaution, or, if you're bold while we are still relatively in the time of plenty and you want to just test it, um, you know, go right ahead. Worst case scenario, you probably get sick. But might be something to try, or just research it. So protein bars, crackers, they will degrade. They're not designed for long-term survival or anything like that. Protein powders is a good option. Your liquid protein. So multivitamins is a great source for short-term and long-term. You can place a bottle of those in your bug out bag and just rotate those as you're monitoring the expiration. So candy, granola bars, mints, again, check the expiration. So here's the thing with that. That is a good 2 week supply of things that you can purchase. You can purchase it for, if I had to eat just for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or how much would I eat for 2 weeks, and then from there you could always build into your longer term food storages, which we see on some of these YouTube channels and all this stuff. So now let's get into I guess let me stop here for a second and ask, are there any questions at this point? I don't want to just make it seem like you guys are trying to drink from a fire hydrant. So we have one question from the explicit. Hopefully this person is not explicit.
All right. Shalom, brothers. Thank you for allowing me to the room.
Shalom, fam. Go ahead.
Shalom. So my question is, do y'all feel like, do y'all feel like that Jacob's trouble is in a sense of attack of um actual nature? Like, let me clarify. And what I mean by that is, like, you already know, okay, Jacob's trouble you're going to consist of some of us, have to dwell in tents, dwell outside, to dwell, probably in mountains or wherever the case is, right? To the point where we probably going to have to rely on nature. So do you feel like in that aspect of Jacob's trouble that it's an attack of true nature on society that's been like so used to technology and stuff like that?
Yes. Now, so I guess to answer your question, when you said about tents and stuff, yeah, I mean, it's going to be, the Bible says it's going to be a time that has never been since the world began. So, as we go through the precepts of Jacob's trouble, or, the precepts of the Great Tribulation, you see.
It's like he's on the phone, but I guess for the crowd, you can answer the question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that, you see the okay, you're back. Okay. So with that, you pull all the precepts of Jacob's trouble / the Great Tribulation, and with that, you see the degradation of society. So you see, hyperinflation, you see famine, you see, especially in Second Ezra, it talks a lot about that. So with that, I guess answering your question, like, yes, it will be an attack on society, but more specifically, Jacob. More specifically, those that fear the Lord. So I guess if one of the brothers could grab that precept from Second Ezra as I continue. I'm going to grab this quick precept for you. But yeah, and with that, this food storage, or this lesson specifically on food storage, is just dealing with, an aspect of it. The aspect being that, sometime, we don't know how or when, under what circumstances it may happen. But if you're in your house and, we're on lockdown, or the famine hits, and the famine can hit for many reasons. I mean, we see supply shortages. A war could break out on American soil, and I assure you the grocery stores will be emptied within 30 minutes. So again, depending on where the where the first strike happens, so that could cause a quick famine. So with all that possibilities, the dollar could crash. That's highly possible. Giving the judgment of Babylon. So given all those possible scenarios of what may be the catalyst or what may quickly come after, we know hyperinflation and famine is part of that. So you know dealing with the, I guess, survival aspect of outdoors and depending on nature. We covered that in a few lessons on Jacob's Trouble. So, if you can go to King Ben's YouTube channel and click on the playlist he has, the Jacob's Trouble, it'll have the lessons that we cover for bug out bags and skills and things like that that will get our people well rounded. So, you have some preppers. I mean, preppers, who are not in the truth, who are, other nations. They got their $2 million bunker and all this stuff. They're not worried about how to, um, you know, process or eat a locust, cleanly. We covered that. I put that in the on the telechat with the group and stuff like that. So we cover all aspects for it, because right now I'm in a position right now physically that I am nowhere near anything I prepared. So what if the Lord has me where I am right now, so be it. I'll be fine. I'm
Um,
not. Go
yeah,
ahead.
it's got two precepts I want to bring out, and continue on with the food storage.
Sure.
Yeah. So we talking about a time for our people that will be a time like never before in captivity. We'll go to I'm gonna do Second Esdras 16, and it says here what do I want? Okay. Um, it says, "For there shall be in every place in next cities a great insurrection." So, like, I didn't get a precept. This is Second Ezra 16 and 70. 70. It says, "For there shall be in every place, in the next city, a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord." And dropping down, it says, verse 75, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord Yahweh. Let not your sins weigh you down." Salakia, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift themselves up. Right? So he's letting us know in that time of trouble that we will be covered, but it will be it will be a great insurrection as pursuant, and a great multitude kindled over us as pursuant to if you go up into the 68 verse, right? If you go over to Daniel 12 real quick, book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1, and it reads and says, "At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never before." Slakia, such as never once was, since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. So the Most High warns us of um, this turmoil that we will encounter as pursuant. You can also go to the book of Matthew, in chapter 20, 24th chapter as well, and you can find similar warnings as pursuant to this great trouble. As that prophecy also that speaks about the toppling of our temple, but it also it gives similar to what will happen in this time. So we are setting with these classes, preparing our people for that great tribulation that is to come. So with several classes, we covered this. So we're giving you a brief estimation of what will be going on in that time. So what the brother's going into now is food preparation in that time. So we will be, as pursuant to the second address, pilgrims on the land, moving from place to place, and trying to uh get to safety until the chariots beam us up. So
Oh,
go ahead, King.
What I was gonna say was, so is there like multiple phases of Jacob's trouble, or is it, is there multiple phases of Jacob's trouble?
Well, listen. We'll have to. It will be a phase of when it starts. The war starts as far as like that, and the great multitude is kindled over our people, and our people is forced to be pilgrims on the land. So then, after that time, we will have to go into a deep, detailed lesson to break down as far as like to the point of the great insurrection, to the point where we're beamed up in the chariots, to the point that the chariots drop us off into the wilderness, to the point that we're in the kingdom. That's a whole nother breakdown lesson that we can't do right now, King. So we have to come back at
Okay.
another time to visit that. But yeah, you can over on the God First Gang, you can get a full breakdown as to you know the whole uh several steps of us going into the Jacob's trouble. We got a whole full breakdown on that. But right now, we just going into food storage and subbing out that those food sources.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Because I
All right,
did. I
King.
definitely. I did definitely start on stacking up on food already. So I definitely did start on that and the water and stuff like that. Okay. So I
Con,
mean that was basically it though. Thank you.
con,
I'll
con,
move on
con.
to the audience.
Con, King. All praise. God, you got it,
Con.
Leo.
Okay, con. Now, let me just backtrack for a second. When I was talking about some of the, I guess, the items to stack, to stock up on. When I said candy and stuff like that, I mean get candy. Dark chocolate is a good one that has a high shelf life. If you like it, if you don't get it because it's just going to sit there and spoil. That can last 4 to 6 months past the best buy date. You know, and another one is jerky. I do have some beef jerky, high in protein. Um, you know, Real simple to make if you want to make your own. I think if you make their own, the shelf life on that is a lot shorter because the ones that you buy at the store have a preservative, so they typically last longer. So now, once you started this accumulation, now you want to get into food rotation, and as I mentioned earlier, it is it is something that you actively have to do. So you want to get food that you eat normally, not just stock up because it looks good or it might be on sale, or you kind of rationalize. And I could use that in an emergency, but um, you know, you really don't, and it just sits there and spoils. So we're going to get into food rotation right now, and I think that'll be it for this lesson. Now, um, I guess when food rotation comes, the number one, I guess the question is why. You know, we're going to. Hold on, we have a guest. Let me finish this part, and then we can bring you up, brother. Now with the food rotation, number one, why, and I guess how, or some things to consider is proper food rotation is the key to always have somewhat fresh food on hand. You don't want to eat the freshest items first and leave the old stuff to get older and possibly spoil. So, following the old restaurant trick of FIFO, which just means first in, first out. Decide up front how you're going to rotate your food. Will you be going from the front to back or left to right? It doesn't hurt to put a little note on reminders on which side to pull the food from taking from your supply. So for me, the newest stuff I buy, I put in the back and I push up front the older stuff. So when I use, like, for instance, I use a lot of tomato sauce or tomato basil. A new bottle I buy, I just put in the back of the pile and then just move the rest of the bottles up, and that keeps a good rotation. So first in, first out. So whether it's front to back or left to right, however you have your setup, but just use that method. So in the event of there is, the bank shut down tomorrow, I have the most recent stuff I bought in the back and the older stuff in the front. Okay. So if you have a lot of canned food, you want to have some type of system. Whether it's under if you have a small apartment, you probably want to grab put some cans on your bed or whatever, if you're just that storing, or whatever system you have. There's YouTube videos on, or Pinterest pins on tons of ways to be creative with your space. Okay. So when you are regularly, number two, when you are regularly rotating your food, also inspect it for signs of spoilage. It's kind of like what I've said earlier. If you're seeing bulgy cans or canned or homed, if you do preservatives yourself with the mason jars and you making your own cans or your own preservatives, check to see if some of the liquid is seeping out of your seal. And if the air is clicking on the can, throw it away immediately. If your vacuum sealed of your mason jars is leaking, just throw it out and start over. So, I mean, one thing you should know, you're probably going to make some mistakes. I did. I mean, it's not hard mistakes. I'm not too bad on myself. I absolutely hate wasting food, but this wasn't intentional. Like, I got money, I can do this later. It was more, I just didn't know, or wasn't really aware of, proper food rotation, or thinking that some of these foods will last forever. It's just not the case. So, um, you know, number three, during the rotation process, you can inspect your food storage for signs of pest or infestation. You want to make sure you do that. Keep your areas clean. Make sure there's no pest. It's a possibility, but you want to get ahead of that. If there's any sign of poop, or one of your bags of sugar has got a hole in it, like what the hell, like just take care of that immediately. Yes, the Most High will protect us, but we have to do our part to be clean. Okay. So every home, is susceptible to pest, especially if you got a nasty neighbor or something like that. Just get ahead of that. Okay. Now, rotating your food storage gives you a chance to do regular inventories as well. It's very easy to forget of what you have on hand when you haven't looked at it for a month or longer. Keep a running checklist or tally sheet or items that will, help you, that you have in your shelf. So, and this is why it's important to um, build your storage with food that you eat and you like. So there's always a constant rotation. We may change up, our eating habits change. That's normal. But, um, you know, it normally won't be a drastic overhaul unless we're just completely shifting the way, we eat or something like that. But, it keeps track versus like, you going through your storage or pantry or whatever, and you're like, what the hell is this? And it's been there, for a year, and you haven't eaten it, and you've never touched it. Um, you know, uh, that's also a good thing. And also, you want to do that with your bug out bags. You want to go into it from time to time. If you have some food in there, just check the storage and just rotate it in and out. Okay. Now, which brings us to regularly using the food for your storage, which I just covered. If you found a great deal of some, pinto beans, and you couldn't resist picking up a couple of cans or cases, you want to make sure you give those beans a try. If you or your family likes them, then you will know to pick up more next time. So this is kind of why I am wary about those survival food packages. You buy it one time, and it's, just add water and heat up, and it has a shelf life of 25 years. It's for a family of 10, and those survival food containers. I'm kind of weary of those because I don't know what they taste like. What guarantee you have is going to last for 25 years? If I somehow have this for year 26, are you going to give me just too many things. And the thing is, some companies, they do offer samples that you can get before you buy, but then they'll probably harass you for buying some more, or actually making a purchase. But stuff like that, you don't know if the food is good. And food fatigue is a real thing. The body just starts rejecting, like, I do not want this, like, I'm sick of this. So be aware of that. Now, Now, if the beans are bad or the food is bad, don't waste your money in buying them in the future. Only, again, store what you and your family eat today. Taste buds aren't going to change overnight, but if you notice your eating habits are changing, adjust accordingly. Now, when you add items, this is the next item or the next thing to consider. When you add items to your food storage shelf, be sure to date the cans, boxes, other packaging. This is just one method or tip with large, bold numbers. Okay. You can use a Sharpie to make it easier for you. If you have problems seeing or things like that, it'll help you with your food rotation. Again, for me, I just I just move all the cans up, and they last. It's a pretty good method. So, um, you know, uh, thinking the expiration date, like I think that's good, but instead of you having to pick up every can every time, having those dates on there could be a useful tip. Okay. Store like items together on your shelf. You want to keep all your sauces together with your, canned goods, for example. Imagine your food stores. Imagine your food storage as if it were a grocery store. Now, when you go to a grocery store and you're looking for one specific ingredient, you can find it next to something similar. For instance, sugar and flour. Okay. Now, beans stick together, tomato products stick together, soups go together, and so on and so on. This makes it easy for you to do your inventory, and when you need something, you won't be wasting time searching for food that you put on your shelf a while ago. Okay. Now, again, you could consider labeling. We kind of covered that. Um, Depending on if you have different areas, or if you stored in those plastic tub containers, you just put a bunch of stuff in there. You could put a label on top as far as ramen noodles or whatever. Now, if you have a shelf or you created a shelf system, you want to do yourself a huge favor and store the heaviest items on the bottom. It seems like common sense, but you'd be surprised. People are just stacking stuff, and then the shelves get too heavy, things fall or they break, or so just put the heavy stuff at the bottom of your bottom shelf. Now, when I say heavy, typically these are your, you can write this down or make a note of it. These are your number 10 cans. These are your NO dot 10 cans. Okay. Now, your number 10 cans, those are the ones that are designed for long shelf life. Okay. So, with your number 10 cans, you can get those from Amazon. Um, I don't like supporting these people, but they do have good products. No, I couldn't find them anywhere else from my friends. Um, the Church of Latter-day Saints, they have a survival food section that has number 10 cans. I bought from them before when the early days of prepping. They last forever. They have like um, potato flakes. They have canned sugar. All of it stored in number 10 cans. Now, those number 10 cans are kind of the ones that you see at Sam's, or when we were in the cafeteria, the lunch lady, she was, had that big can opener and that huge can that was opening. Those are kind of designed to last a while, well beyond the normal cans. Um, but um, Specifically, if you find something that says number 10 cans and you buy those, put those at the bottom. Those will last. Again, number 10 cans are designed for long-term food storage. And that also brings up another good point, that if we are trekking through Jacob's Trouble and we find a place to scavenge, okay, schools are a good place. Daycare schools, because those schools have children or people they feed, so the cafeteria would be a good place to look, or to scavenge. Okay, so um, you know the next point is, now when you realize you have some items that have been sitting on your food storage for a while, pull them out and put them in your everyday pantry, or go ahead and use them. Just add them to your your food or what you're going to eat. um, Make a note to replace the item you pulled from your food storage. Okay, this happened to me before. I could have sworn that we had this. I think it was some seasoning, some really good seasoning I was stocking up on. It's from a local guy, a local brother. I Every time I go to the store, I buy like 4 or 5 of them, and I just knew I had some in there. And I went there and I ran out of my everyday use, so I went up to the storage, or went to the storage and got some, and there was none in there. And I was like looking, looking, looking. I could not find it, and just I ran out. So you want to make, again, that goes into keeping the inventory, which is why you want to keep an inventory, or, check your stuff, not say often. I don't want people to get paranoid, but on a regular basis, like once a month is more than enough, or twice a month is a good thing to check. Because again, you do, and on the opposite end of that, you don't want to be going to the store like, oh yeah, I need to buy more because I ran out, and then you get home and you have 10 bags of sugar, or you know 50 cans of corn but 0 cans of beans, something like that. So taking notes and making sure that you pull out the older things for quick use, is also good ways for food rotation. So, with that, I hope that was a good overview. Um, you know, Again, this lesson, we've covered not so much specifically on food rotation. We did this on lesson 3 of Jacob's Trouble of food storage. Just some quick tips on how to, again, another way to accumulate your food storage, which before the pandemic, this was a very profitable thing to do, was to go to the food banks and just get your everyday food from there. You get your rice, your beans, your condiments. Because and the thing was, if you didn't use the food bank, they would throw the food out because they wanted to make sure they had a partnership with the stores, or the larger food banks that would serve the local food banks. So they said, hey, we didn't have anyone this month, and they kept having that report. The food banks would cut off their partnership, because they would cut off their partnership because like, you're not there's no one in your area that has this need. So why are we giving you free food? So the people at these food banks, they would take the food home or just throw it away, because they wanted to keep that partnership going with the larger food banks. So for instance, in Houston, you would have the larger food bank downtown or outside of downtown, who would, the churches or the little youth centers would go to the larger, that food distribution bank, and get, cartons and cartons of free food that they would take back to their churches or community centers and serve their neighborhood. Now the pandemic has hit, that's completely out the window. Long lines everywhere for the food bank. So that avenue is, you still can use it. Just be prepared to wait in, long lines depending on your area. One way to check is to go to Google, type in food bank and food banks, and type in your zip code, and it'll pull up some list of companies or churches or nonprofit organizations that are acting as a food bank. And then you can probably drive by there or give them a call and see, if they're still serving or things like that. So, but now during the pandemic, that avenue is, that well has been tapped. So some things you could do with the, you could split an Amazon Prime membership, just to get faster shipping. You can split that with someone, you and your friend or family member. You could split the Sam's Club or Costco's membership. You can always add a family member or someone like that. You could split that bill. That'll help for the food storage. Now with Sam's, I've noticed, my wife, she uses coconut oil, and so we bought a big thing from Sam's once. Sam's or Kroger, I can't remember. We bought the industrial, the big tube or tub, and she found that it was not as fresh as the smaller one that we get. And so and I don't use it, but I noticed like it definitely stunk. And so you know that was a warning that sometimes, not always, buying in bulk is best, because again, those are mostly for like restaurants who just they get a big thing of ketchup and just fill up the little dispensers or something like that. But for some other items, the large cans or the granola bars or stuff like that, and with food storage, you kind of want to go into some of the supplies. Those are your toiletries and things like that. Feminine products, you definitely want to stock up on those. Deodorant and things like that that we use every day. We know toilet paper was a big thing. I don't know why, but it was. But instead of using toilet paper, baby wipes is another good thing to put in the back of your closet, stuff like that. So not only focusing on food, but just everyday supplies that we use. So with that, I hope that was helpful. If any brothers want to make any comments or precepts, or if anyone has any questions or comments that you want to ask, please feel free. We definitely welcome the engagement, and we'll try to answer your questions the best we can. Um, with that, I pass the ball over to Ben or Mike.
Yeah, I just had great points. I know you covered this before, but just that reminder to, for regarding the food, a lot of times in planning, people think this even goes with their gear. They get these items or they search through their old clothing and they pack their bags with them as well as their food. They'll get like some top ramen and store it up there and some old ass rice and throw it in there, and like, you're not going to eat this stuff. If you're not eating it now, you're not going to eat it. You're not going to want it. So like, you should be subbing out the things that you are accustomed to eating, more or less. You should be, like he said, subbing out the old with the new, keep replacing it and putting the new in the back. We do that with our water. As we are using our water, we are putting the new in the back of it and rotating it around, so we have a system to know which one is which. And this goes with your clothes and your gear. Don't get Do not put some old sneakers that maybe that fit you when you was probably 19 or something like that, or some jeans that when you was younger, in there. You should be putting things that gear that's on the level of the things that you wear now, even better things for that time in there. Don't I know people are not rich, but if you put in some, like, even some shoes or some boots uh in your bag and things like that, and you're not trying them on, or you're not, you know, our weight changes according to how long you're doing this bag, and you just leave them in there, and you get to that time and you need them and you can't fit them, or they're not comfortable or anything like that. You're gonna be like, yo, you're gonna be stuck out. You're gonna be stuck out there. So you want to make sure that you're checking on your bag, subbing things out, trying them on. Everything changes on our body, from our feet to, to the, how we wear our hats and things like that. Hats we put on our head. So um the same thing with your food. Rice that it's different, like he said, type of rice. Some of these places we may find rice on sale and it may not be the caliber of, I like parboiled rice, or like he said jasmine rice, things like that. And you get some cheap rice that the store may have on sale, and you never eat it, and it sits there and you never check on it, and then you get to it and be like, I should have looked at this. So, sub it out with the things that you are commonly used to eating. If it's something that, you're going to change your diet, if you're changing your diet and things like that, then sub it out with that. A lot of things that we used to eat, we're no longer eating. So it should be something similar that you're eating on a regular basis. I hate top ramen noodles. So, or anything like that, they're not good. In a lot of cases, they're not lawful. So you want to get something. Make sure we definitely, we expect everybody in here to buy lawful food, because we talking to Israelites. So things like the albacore tuna fish, you probably don't want, even if you get a can of that, you probably don't want to put that in there. You want to get something that's lawful, that you're gonna be able to eat. Slacky, a different type of ramen noodles that's lawful, something that's tasty that you would probably eat. Make sure you're putting things in there that you're gonna eat. Just don't throw anything and let it sit back there forever, because you'll go back there, and anything that you're not moving or checking on, pest is going to get to it. You know, you got to have a constantly check it, even if it's down in your cupboard or wherever it is. Over time, I don't care where you live, something will find its way to it. So you got to be checking on it, going in there, clearing it out, you know, dusting back there, doing all these things where you store your food. Make sure you keep it in a place that the elements can't get to it and things like that. Um, yeah, I don't know if Mike want to add anything. I got some precepts, just a couple precepts after if Mike got any.
All I was gonna add is good lesson once again, Leo. I missed part of part one, but when you went into part two, a lot of good facts about cycling out food. A lot of times, well, one, I worked in a restaurant, not restaurant, a grocery store, and one of my duties at evening time when we were about to close was you had to cycle all the older products to the front. So good lesson on that. Um, I've seen that firsthand, so I understand that concept. Even though it is foreign to a lot of our people, but that's really all I had to add. I didn't really have any precepts. I'm not sure if you guys went into the Genesis with Joseph. I'm pr- I'm pretty sure you referenced it.
No, I didn't go over the precepts, but I mean, I did go over Proverbs 6 that discuss the famine and how we need to be like the ant. So,
Con.
oh, was there
Yeah,
anything else? Was there? Mike, did you have
yeah,
anything else?
No, that was it. That was it.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I just got one. I ain't gonna bring out a whole bunch. We brought out some last time, but this one I really is just in reference to because we kind of like when we talk about storage, we kind of look at other people in reference to us as because it's gonna be a time, and I get this question a lot about what should I plan for, what should I plan for, what should I do, what should I do, and we harping on you being spiritually stacked up in faith and not to be so worried about that time as long as you're preparing now, every day, taking stock of yourself and your life. That's the real preparation you can do along with exercise. I know Brother Jake, he informs our people on that daily in getting your bodies prepared. You don't know how far you're going to have to travel in a how in a how amount of time. So you want to prepare your bodies and your as long as you along with you preparing your spirit, you want to prepare your bodies right now. Get your house in order, get your ribs outside, along with yourself, your children, and walking daily and eating better. This would help with not being gluttonous on meals and living to eat instead of eating to live. You know, um, take down your consumption of food. By daily, because we as a people in this wicked captivity consume an enormous amount of food, which we exercise less and we eat more, especially over this pandemic that has kept a lot of our people in the house. So we want to be preparing spiritually, but we also don't want to be so worried in about the items that we gather together. So I just want to read two precepts. Um, the first one starting in the book of Psalms. Um, you know, every time I'm down or anything, I was taught since young. Uh, Psalm 37 was my mother's favorite song. So I'm gonna go to Psalm 37 and I'm gonna start at I think I'm gonna start at 23. It says, "The steps of a good man." Psalm 37:23, verse chapter 37, verse 23. The steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, yet I have not seen a righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Um, it says, Salakia. Right. It says, I have been young and now I'm old, and yet I have not seen a righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. So, in that time, we don't have, as long as we keep in these law, statutes, and commandments, we won't be worried in that time. We shouldn't be worried in that time. You know, this is what we're building up now. This is battle planning right now. These classes is our strategy as to what we will be doing in that time, as building up ourselves and building up our spiritual faith and taking stock of those things, so that when we get to that time, we have prepared, we have trained along with our bodies, along with stocking up. We have prepared our spirits to be, have faith in those times. And like the sister asked last week, she asked, how will we know, you know, um, who's who in those times? The Most High will reveal it to us. We won't be out there wandering, aimlessly like a lot of other people will in those days, but we will know who we should be, who we should dwell upon, with at that time. We will have that guide, and we will be separated from those. Even though we may encounter people, we will be protected in that time. So it won't be a worrisome time as a lot of us think, as to where, if we come upon how we know who's the Israelite and who to trust, it will be revealed to us. That's the preparation right now that we will get to at this point. I got one more, which is a second Esdras, because the enemy over us now, they have been stocking up, and we need not to be worried about them. Um, this is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at 20. I'm gonna start at 22. It says, Second Esdras 6 and verse 22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right, and those are the people that are stacking up daily. You see all these Edomites, just like when anything happened, a lot of the places that with this so-called Delta variant, where they told everybody to go out, now they sent out alerts today that they're starting to put the restrictions back in place with masks and things like that. And we're going to get to that time again. People are talking about another lockdown, even though it doesn't seem like it. With this Delta variant and the vaccine not working, as they claim it did, these things we're going to encounter again. So, right, it says, and trumpets shall give sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. Verse 24, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear, those that dwell therein. The springs of fountains shall stand still, in 3 hours they shall not run. Right? So we're going to get to that time, as the brother came on stage and asked, in reference to, how we know what will be happening at those times. Is it going to be stages? Do we think it's going to be just, food? It's going to be turmoil like we never experienced before. It's going to be all hell breaking loose. And when all hell breaks loose, you can't call 911. You can't call, your friend Betty on the phone. You can't call Charlie. It's going to be time that you have prepared for at that time. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I got one more that I want to, just go back to the point of preparation. And Salaki, this is my, one of my favorite, in meditation on the time of just preparation, because we always want to prepare for, like in preparation for Yahweh Shai coming, right? Like he can show up at any time. We say that often. That sky could crack at any moment. So this is the book of Luke, chapter 12, and I'm gonna start at 36. It says, Luke chapter 12 and 36. It says, "And ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord, when he will return from a wedding, that when he cometh knocking, they may open unto him immediately." Verse 37, "Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them." Verse 38, "And if he shall come in the second watch, and, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants." Blessed are those servants, right? So as it likened to those that, back in the ancient times, um, they used to have men that sit upon walls, watchmen, right? And you had the first watch, the third watch, the first watch, second watch, third watch, and fourth watch. The the first watch used to begin from 6 to 9. Would have been that time of hour in basically the evening from 6 to 9 almost, and then it would have been the second watch would have been from 9 to the midnight hour, and then it would have been the third watch would have been from the midnight hour to 3, and then from the fourth watch would have been from 3 to 6 again, the next, which was dusk. So you would have what in that precept it likened if he should come in the second watch or even the third watch, right? And it's like in that in the middle of the night when you are in your security. So it said, man, catch you off guard. So you want to be prepared. These are the times right now that we prepare for him to come at those hours and for tribulation to come at those hours. When all hell breaks loose, we're not going to be like, oh, it was a bulletin and we got a week to get prepared. These lessons are for all hell break loose tonight. Our people to be prepared to grab their bug out bags, have their things in place, and be ready to move. You know what I'm saying? So it's not for you to so you got a couple of weeks, or you're waiting for the next stimulus to drop, or you're waiting to save up, for you to get to this. We plan it every day, but you have to be prepared like now. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know when that's going to hit. So that's why the brother Leo brought out the precept. I believe it was it Proverbs, was that 6 and 6 earlier, Leo?
Proverbs 6 and 6.
Con, con, like to the ant in preparation. So that's really it. I yield.
And with that, it is really late. I mean, if you tune into the news that we cover, um, in the beginning, I was trying to get friends and family to start storing and going over precepts, and I really don't. The spirit is not in me to deal with scoffers regarding this, because it's going to be like in the days of Noah. Now, people with genuine questions, or like what to do, what store, then yeah, I'll definitely labor as much time as needed to answer those questions. But scoffers, oh, you don't have faith, or oh, you shouldn't be doing, or oh, nothing's going to happen. I mean, I'm moving on. And again, we don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. And whether or not they store or not has no bearing on what I do, and for me in my house. So I mean, it's really a moot point. We've covered tons of precepts regarding preparation and gave tons of examples from the Bible, not just specifically directly from the Bible. So whether or not scoffers want to do it or not, that is literally on them, because it's not if, it's just when this goes down, whatever they have in their house is what they have. So that'll be on them. But with that, that's all I have for tonight. Next week, I want to cover, because someone else asked about this, so it'd make just sense to add it to the lesson. We're going to continue with the Jacob's Trouble series, so it'll be episode 12. Again, not the analyzing Jacob's Trouble movie and TV show series. I'm going to cover gardening because people ask about that. I've touched on it a few times, but I guess somebody requested it specifically on gardening. So I'm going to cover that, Lord willing, if nothing else comes up. But again, just a quick tip on gardening. It sounds romantic. I grow my own food and all this stuff, but considering the times we're in, and I mean, unless you just have a fully functioning farm or garden that supplies enough food for you and your family during the seasons that you're growing. For the rest of us, it is just supplemental to your food storage. So that's why I kind of want to do that one next week because it just piggybacks or lammybacks right off of what we're doing, what we discussed tonight. So that'll be for next week. Gardening, it'll be just an introductory class because again, there's a million and one things to consider. But I'll just touch on the major points of gardening and some misconceptions and just some things to get you started and some things to think about. With that, I don't have anything else. Brother Ben, you want to close us out? Um, Brother Ben.
Salaki, I was in
Okay,
my
yeah.
main. I gotta eat. Echo on your side, Leo.
You said what?
I got an echo on your side for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Salaki. Yeah. So with that, excellent lesson. I always love the you know, the Jacob's Trouble lessons and reviews because even when we go over reviews, I'm reminded of things that I missed the first time around. So for everybody in the telechat, I hope that y'all brothers and sisters, you know, enjoyed the lesson and took down notes. We will have it, up with the other lessons. It'll be uploaded to the YouTube, and Brother Leo also adds them to the Yaquab's Trouble website. We gotta, not just jot these things down, but start applying them. We gotta put them to use. They're not just, vain words. Brother Leo takes his time out. He's actually, been away handling business, but he's taking his time out to put these lessons together for Israel to be, informed as well as edified. So just coming up. Look for that to be put on the schedule. I'm sure Leo will put it on by next week. As well as we have the IG up. Just go to my bio and you can connect to the IG, and we usually list either clips of the class or we'll post the classes schedule there. As well as we got anybody that have any questions or anything they wish to uh, add or contact us, they can reach us by the Gmail, LaKingdomCome144K at gmail.com, as well as they can reach us on Twitter and Instagram. The YouTube is in my bio as well. With that being said, I will be opening up a Shalom and Chill on Thy Kingdom Come shortly. So, anybody that wants to go over to the room that's still going on and God First Game, they're welcome to, or they can come to the Shalom and Chill and relax. And we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not in the telechat, contact myself or Brother Leo or Brother Mike, and we'll get you added. With that being said, we want to give all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Thank him for allowing us to come before you and inform you. We thank everyone that continued to add in the telechat all of the stories and information. And also, we want to hear from all of you regarding future classes of Jacob's Trouble or anything else you feel would be an addition to the Thy Kingdom Come platform. If you're not following, make sure you follow and become the Thy Kingdom Come platform, as well as become a member. Salakia, nominate someone to Thy Kingdom Come. We want all of Israel to come and be informed. So with that being said, I'm gonna say Shalom.
Shalom.
Brother Leo, could you shut it down, King?
Sure, I got you.